What's up, y'all? I'm Taurey Henson.
And I'm Darrin Henson, and you're watching and listening to the
In the Groove podcast.
Now, we have an amazing show for you today. This is a new podcast, and we have some exciting conversations that we're going to be bringing to you that are political, that are about health and fitness, life, drama. We're going to be bringing you entertainment conversations. We're going to jump right into this first episode. I'm here with my wife, so might as well get into the nitty-gritty of it. My man, Drake, went viral for this. He made a statement. He said, I love my space, I love my work, and I love my routine. Now, that's something that we talked about ourselves, because me, as an entertainer, a person who's been in the industry over 35 years, I really had to break certain cycles to allow somebody in my space. And as you guys know, I was married before for a very short period of time, only 6 months, and we'll tell you a little bit about that. But in order for me to allow somebody in my space, they had to obtain a certain quality of thought that resonated with my spirit. And so, which is how Taurey and I got married. So I think what I want to ask you in front of the world is, what did you see for you that kind of resonated with you, that you wanted to join life with me and become my missus?
Become Mrs. Henson? Well, just off the bat, I loved your independence. You were the type of man that didn't need a woman. And I'm not speaking for all men, but there are men out there that need a woman to cook, need a woman to clean, that, really can't do life without a woman. So something that I really appreciated about you was that you could do everything, and to allow me to be a part of your space and to do that for you and to assist you was something that really resonated with me.
Well, I mean, you just made that statement, so I have to speak to it. Not that I didn't need a woman, I didn't need the wrong woman. And so
Right.
I wasn't in a rush to invite someone else into my life, right? Because I've had practice at, and I wouldn't say right or wrong in the aspect of somebody is wrong, but was wrong for me.
Yeah, that just didn't vibrate with you or your lifestyle,
Yeah.
what you saw for yourself.
And so when you came into my life, of course, it was...
When I dropped from heaven?
When you dropped from heaven. It was one of those spaces, and places that I realized that this woman actually made sense to my life and how I lived my life. And as she said, I'm very independent. So I needed a woman, and again, I use that word, needed a woman to overstand my position. Some people like being under you all the time. Some people don't like being around at all, right? What I needed a woman was to overstand my space and how I operated in terms of my work, in terms of my spiritual aspect of how I like to meditate alone, or how I like to sometimes work out alone, and be okay with that, not be offended by me being alone, because sometimes people really do. They get offended. Why don't you want to do that with me? And they don't understand that sometimes people need that space.
I think that part of that, as women, we tend to not recognize those as boundaries, as personal space, because we have them too. I have them. I know there are times when, I'm just in a room reading by myself and he's like, are you okay? But it's really understanding that each person needs their own space, and it's not to be, taken any other way than, they just want alone time. And I think that's really important, especially when you're integrating lifestyles with someone else, because you really have to learn, Drake said it, your routine, the lifestyle, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. And I think it really stems from just being able to respect the person that you're with.
Yeah.
And learn them.
Yeah, and learn them. I think it's important. We say we go through it to grow through it, to ultimately glow through it. That's right. And so everything that shows up in your life, whether you accept this or not, is there to assist you to grow. Difficulties are designed to make you better. And I think by the time you showed up I had gone through a level of difficulty in my life that allowed me to understand who I was, who I am, and where I was going, the trajectory
Right.
of where I was going and what I wanted to do in my life thus far. You know, from Darrin's Dance Grooves to Soul Food to Lincoln Heights. When it came to me being in the industry, I knew what I wanted as a person in the industry. I knew what I was developing as a legacy. But when it came to personal boundaries, I actually had to learn them because I thought I was supposed to let everybody into every space
Yeah.
of my life. And I realized that's absolutely not true.
So that must be more difficult as an entertainer because there is an aspect of your career that you kind of have to let people in. But to what point would you say that you had to learn what point that was?
Well, I think you know it, very clearly. Like there's some roles that I do, you actually give me space on because of the intensity of the characters, right? So we had to work that out, and we had to learn how to operate within that space.
Yeah, I had to learn. That was a big one for me, is learning that when he is in a character, he is that character. Like, he is Orlando, he is Detective Ryan. So to work from that space of understanding, I think it became easier once I learned that about you.
It was interesting, right? So years ago, I did a movie called Stomp the Yard. You guys saw Stomp the Yard, and my character was very dogmatic, really intense guy. Never knew April's color, her favorite color, and a lot of you walked up to me in the street and said, "I hated you." It's not me; it's the character you didn't like, right? Like, so what I realized was the world had changed. The world didn't separate the actor from the actual characters anymore. And so, sometimes when we're out together, people will come up to me
my God.
and talk about
it's
the
either a
family
love
business.
or hate. It really is.
Right?
It's either a love or hate with whatever character resonated with them the most. And it's not always current. It's not always, what you're on now. Sometimes it is Stomp the Yard or a role that you did or Soul Food,
Mm-hmm.
which it's hilarious.
Well, how does that make you feel? Like again, because we brought Drake into this, and he said that he loves his space, he loves his work, and he loves his routine. So again, to share that with someone, it had to be somebody who was open to all of that love that comes from the fans. How does that make you feel being my woman, being the woman in my life? Watching the fanfare, the love, which is really what it is, in front of you. Because sometimes, we got to keep it real. Sometimes,
we get nitty gritty, y'all.
some women aren't as respectable in terms of how they approach showing their love, right?
That's facts. Just, you have to expect that, or it is expected. And this is actually a question I get asked a lot. But I think that when I looked at it as your job, your career, and truly saw the impact, that you had on people, it really put me into a place of really understanding that this is your space, and that's their admiration and their respect for you, or, whatever they show towards you, that's part of your job. That goes hand in hand with your career. And I have you on a personal level. I have you as Darrin. So for me, it was really just understanding that this is your job, this is your career, and to not take it personal.
Now, for me, again, we know the law of polarity exists in all things. So, that's that side for me. But even for me, right? Yeah. It's you being a beautiful woman, you get a lot of looks in the street. People approach you a certain way. You model, you have campaigns. What is it, how do you, because I remember when we first met, you said, that's how I want to show up in the world. It's through modeling.
Yes,
that's my
modeling.
voice.
I love taking pictures. It's so different because, you tease me all the time. When I audition for commercials, it's not easy for me to act. Like, I don't understand it. But he's like, but you're in front of the camera anyway. It's a picture. But it's so different from being able to communicate an emotion or a feeling, or not communicate an emotion in a picture. rather than embody a character. It's so different in my perception, you know.
And so, I mean, I think people want to know, you know, what does it take in today's space? Like we have Instagram, right? Everybody's on Instagram. Everybody's a model.
Accessible.
Yeah, a part of it is really great because years ago, and I think we can all attest to this, you know, you had to be as thin as a carrot to model. That's no longer true, right? So we love all shapes, sizes, and colors. And I think
the world is changing.
Yeah, it's allowed us to expand as the opportunity to see ourselves different, right?
Yeah,
so
really
I'm just gonna
create the realities that we want to be in.
Yeah. So we know today, right, that Instagram now, we have all types of Instagram models. You could be big, you could be small, you could be light, you could be dark.
Yeah.
What is that like knowing that you can project your image out there and also monetize it where you control your own business? It doesn't necessarily have to be an agent or a manager. You can be your own agent and manager. How does that work in your life right now? And what do you have to do also to protect your image? Right? Kanye West, he puts on masks or bags over his head because he says, you know, people use his image. How do you see yourself as a model in today's market industry, protecting your image at the same time monetizing it?
Wow, that's, you know, I think as far as protecting my image, you know, obviously you guys can see that I wrap my hair. You know, I have a lot of hair. It's a big afro, but I think for me, just as a person, you know, as a married woman, it really resonated with me to kind of protect my crown, protect my energy. Especially for women, hair is very sacred. So for me, I stay wrapped, you know, unless I am modeling for something. But I think that with Instagram, it's such a cool space because you can, you know, I have my brand, All Natural Queen. You can create your business, you can market your business, and it's unprecedented. It's like no other time there's ever been before. So it's actually very exciting to be an entrepreneur. Is a bit scary, and I will say every day is learning, whether you make a mistake or you make a decision that turned out really well. And I absolutely enjoy the learning, and I think that there's so much more to learn as far as harnessing social media and all the platforms available to me.
I want to keep it real with our audience, right? Like we're letting you guys into a personal space right now, and we want to be completely transparent. So Taurey, I want to ask you, what are the difficult parts of being married to an entertainer, to an actor, right? What's difficult about that?
You are absolutely the most perfect man in the world.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I think that when I look at it from my perspective, it can get the time that you have to dedicate to your craft. Whether you're traveling and I can't be there with you, or the time that it takes to learn a script, or if you're traveling for a particular show, I think that there are times when you just have to remember who you are, remember your strength, and just remember that, you know, for me personally, it's Darrin is doing what he loves. And for me, that brings me happiness to know that he's doing something that he enjoys doing. And so you just get more excited for the time that, you know.
Yeah, but let's talk about the difficult parts. Let's keep it real.
The time dedication is a difficult part, because then the time leading up to before you leave to go film, you're not you. So I don't really get to communicate and you know, play and live and eat with Darrin. It's whatever character you're in, which is understandable for me, but that can get a little, you know, like I miss you before you even leave.
You know, Jim Brown, clearly Mr. 44, right? Syracuse, Cleveland Brown. He always told me, I remember this, he said, always get the girl, right? And I remember when I did Stomp the Yard, shout out to everybody in Stomp the Yard. You know, Megan Good played my girlfriend in that, but clearly her character, April, chose Columbus Short's character. And I remember Jim Brown saying, always get the girl in the end. Now, after I did that film, again, that was after Soul Food. People had loved my character, Len Van Adams, on the Soul Food series, but when I did Stomp the Yard, I didn't get that same love. You know, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, I didn't like you, I didn't like you, I didn't like you," and it was just ringing in my ear what Jim Brown said, which was always get the girl. Speak to what it's like seeing me on screen with other women. Speak to that, because I think a lot of women want to know how wives deal with that. I mean, you have, you know, there are a lot of men out here who are married. Denzel's married, Omari Hardwick's married. There are a lot of men who are married who have relationships on screen with other women, and it's not always peaches and cream, right?
Right. Wasn't prepared for that question. I think for me personally, I go like, it's your character. This is not you, my husband. This is whoever it is, you know, or Orlando, or, you know, whatever character you are. So that helps, but, you know, I'm going to keep it real. I don't always watch, you know, I don't always look. I usually turn away. It's not something I enjoy seeing. So, but mentally, it's not anything that I stay stuck in, because I understand it's the character that you're playing doing that. But yeah, there are some movies I just
It's difficult to watch.
But there was one that you told me, you were like, oh, he covered my eyes and everything. He's like, look away, you don't want to see this. You don't want to see this.
Which film was that?
I can't even remember.
Which film was that? So, you know, I get butt booty naked in some of the films that I do,
love
right?
those.
So that's happened a few times. But I mean, to keep it real with everybody, in terms of our relationship, it's a dynamic that changes all the time. But what we do is we choose communication over everything. It's really important. If you don't have communication, you don't have anything. And there's a movie that I just directed, which is called A House Ain't a Home. But the whole tagline is, a house ain't a home without communication. It's so important to communicate. It doesn't matter who it is or who starts the communication, but it has to be started. And if you really desire an end result that is going in the direction that you want, jump to it. Be the person to start the communication. Don't wait for it, because the end result is your happiness. And that's really where we are. You know, people see us in the street all the time, or come to book signings or our t-shirt signings, for mine, which is God's Billboard t-shirts, and Taurey's, which is All Natural Queen. We talk to people all the time because we know how important it is to communicate with those people who might be confused about what's going on in their lives. And what we tell people is, to whom much is given, much is required. If you have been blessed with the gift of being able to share your life with someone, do not treat that person the way that you treated them when you met them 5 years ago, 10 years ago. People change every day. So notice the changes in them. Man to woman, woman to man, woman to woman, man to man, whoever you are. Notice the changes that are happening in front of you daily, because you're not the same person that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago. So
that's a good thing. That can be a really good thing if you're making positive changes towards the person that you ultimately want to become.
Yeah, grow with those changes and deal with that individual as they change, and that will help move you towards a level of success that you probably are desired. And when the challenges come up, and they will, address them in the moment. Do not procrastinate. One of the things that I learned is to use procrastination against itself. I love this book, and you know this. It's called Think and Grow Rich. And in order for you to grow rich, you have to think rich, right? It's becoming. Be, and you become. We say this all the time. We're not human doings. We're human beings. So you want to be, so it comes, and that's how things become. If that makes sense to you, wherever you are, you can finger snap to that. Yes or yes? Yes.
Yes.
So we say go through it, grow through it, and glow through it. I think, Taurey, one of the things that I want to ask you on air is a question that people ask me all of the time. How do I deal with you being such a beautiful woman, and me being in public with you, and I have to deal with people? How do I feel? And I tell people all the time, I'm proud of her beauty. I'm thankful for her beauty. I'm happy for her beauty. Her beauty allows her to live her life, and seek what she desires, and show up in the world the way that she chooses through her images. And I love how, other queens come to her and ask her questions, and there's a bond that women naturally have that men are still trying to obtain. And when I see this, it's something that is really astounding to me. We were watching The Woman King the other day, which is a phenomenal film. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's probably working its way to the Oscars right now. But amazing. The bond, the synergy these women had in that movie is incredible. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's the chemical estrogen, right? That women have.
That sisterhood.
Yeah, speak to that, please.
I think that it's a beautiful thing. I say all the time, women should never be jealous or hateful or judgmental of each other, because we're, whatever race or creed you are, we're all in that same sisterhood. There's a bond, especially with Black women. There's a bond. And when I'm able to look at another woman and call her queen, and she's able to respond queen, I think that shows respect, mutual respect for just being a human being, being a woman, being a Black woman, and just being a queen. And that makes me proud to be a part of that, when I have those interactions with other women, because I enjoy being around like-minded women, strong women, because those are the types of women that you can do stuff with, you can build with.
Now, speaking of Black women, one of the things that we always say is you don't have to hate other people to learn to love yourselves. But there's something going on in society right now that we really have to address, because the term is crazy on its own. I
don't know if they're ready for this.
Yeah, but we want to bring that to the show right now and really address it and talk about it. And clearly, you as a Black woman, I want you to speak on it. We have some specs on it, but the topic, the hashtag, is Black breeding.
That's Black breeding.
Yeah, and this
exactly
is
what it sounds like.
And this is where Caucasian women are choosing, in their words, breed with Black men to have Black babies. Can you speak on this, please?
This one kind of threw me for a loop when I saw it. I kind of thought it was a joke, and I kind of researched it, went deeper into it. The hashtags on Instagram and Twitter right now. This came out September 24th, 23rd. It really hit those days. Black bread, hashtag Black bread, hashtag Black breeding. And basically this is a movement of women who say that they wanna breed with, Black bulls. That's what they're calling them. The term breed, really, when you look at the definition in the dictionary, it's talking about reproducing animals. And to even refer to a Black man as a bull in this context, it kind of shows the mentality of looking at Black men as stock. And
I gotta say, that's difficult for me because I'm a Taurus. I always say I'm a bull, and I'm going right now because it's not something that I want to perpetuate, right? I don't want to assist this hashtag or this conversation, right?
Yeah, but it's a different context for sure. Like you say, I'm a bull as an energy. He's a Taurus and he is a bull. He charges. But this one really is, they're also calling it the power of the Black seed, which it's almost like a subculture, and it's, from what I can obtain from the groups of people that are partaking in this hashtag, it's white women who are married to white men in most cases, and they are allowed to breed with the black man to have a black child.
Now, what is that saying? So let's take a pause for the cause right here.
This man, this young black man, is asking this woman this question, and she has a very clear answer of why she would choose a black man to procreate with, and that's because her children would be protected in the sun in the future, and that's where things are going. So there's clear understanding of why this is being proliferated, and I think that bringing that to light is really educating the masses on it being more than just wanting to have a cute mixed baby, because that's another aspect.
Which is really interesting to me because it juxtaposes the whole kind of racist thing right now, right? And then it brings to mind the Willie Lynch letter. I know that you guys have heard about the Willie Lynch letter. And one of the things in the Willie Lynch letter, they talk about breeding or buck breaking,
right.
And they do it through horses. So once again, the black breeding, talking about animals, right?
Right.
The whole 3/5 of a human, right? 3/5 of a man. That conversation comes in again. The Willie Lynch letter talked about he was a slave master from the West Indies, and he came to the Americas into the Virginia to teach the slave masters who were having a problem with their slaves at that time.
He was the master at this.
Yeah.
He wrote the book literally.
Yeah. The letter, the Willie Lynch letter, how to, break the buck. And it was done the same way that you break a horse. So we're talking about animals once again. So we really need to deal with this as a society and see where this is going. Because as you know, it is said that Caucasians right now are at a zero birth rate, soon, which means for every person who has passed away, they're not having children. But now they're not being replaced.
Yeah.
But now they're choosing to procreate with black men.
So I have, just to pause right there, I have those the different years, and as you can see, there are 4 different families, some white families and a black family, and this quote came along with this particular visual. It says, "Every white man's house will soon be buzzing with the screams of little black babies." And basically it's showing just the integration of the black DNA into the white family, but the white family raising those black children. It's called a cuckold when a husband, allows his wife to be impregnated by a black man and then raise the baby and take care of the baby as his own.
I think there's a problem on the rise.
We hope you enjoyed the episode today. I'm Taurey Henson.
I'm Darrin DeWitt Henson,
and you've been grooved.